Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Surrounded by Bourbon with me, Phil Crawford, aka Causeway Whiskey. This is episode 33 and today we are looking at something from Middleton Distillery, and this is the Method and Madness, their single pot still that is finished in French chestnut casks. Some Method and Madness came about as a brand in 2017, and it was initially focused on unusual wood finishes, but also kind of like a way for the apprentice blenders and distillers down at Middleton to play with different mash bills and maturation techniques. And really what it does is allow Middleton to go kind of Willy Wonka and get playful with their whiskey in a way that they probably can't do with their heritage brands like Jameson and Redbreast and Powers. So they have, with the Method and Madness range, they've released quite a lot of different finishes. So they've used woods like acacia, they've used wild cherry, they've used hickory, they've also used Gariana oak that comes from the Pacific Northwest. And they've used different cask finishes such as mezcal casks. And also they've played about with different mash bills, such as their rye and malt release, which was 60% rye, 40% malt, and they also have an oats and malt release as well, again 60% oats and 40% malt. They've also released a 7-year-old single malt that has been distilled by themselves, so kind of a bit of an unusual departure for Middleton, considering that they normally just do single pot still and also grain whiskey. So on top of those kind of releases, they've had really well aged single grain. There was a 31-year-old, I think, single grain, possibly a 33 as well, and old single pot still releases. One of my favourite whiskies ever from Ireland was their 28-year-old single pot still that was matured in port pipes. That was an absolute banger. But today we are looking at this, which is the core release single pot still. I think you will agree that the actual presentation, the bottle is absolutely stunning. They are works of art. I love the labels, I just love the design full stop. Not something I normally go to over the top of, but I just think these are like absolutely cracking looking bottles, so well done to the design team who put this together. So the last Redbreast review I was discussing what is single pot still. So single pot still whiskey is something that is actually has a geographic indicator under EU law, so it is actually protected, and as such it also has a technical file as to how it's made. So it has to be distilled and aged in Ireland, or matured in Ireland. The mash bill has to be at least 30% malted barley, 30% unmalted barley, and then 5% can be of different grains such as your rye, your oats, wheat, or whatever. Now that definition was really kind of created, I guess, by IDL, Irish Distillers, and I can't really blame them, because really they kept the pot still genre alive with the likes of Redbreast. But when people have looked at historic mash bills, Irish single pot still whiskey had very much different mash bills to the kind of strict rule that we have at the minute with just the 5% of extra grains. Some of them were really heavy on rye, some of them were really heavy on oats, some were really heavy on wheat. And so other distilleries such as Culloden, Bowan, Blackwater, just to name a few, they have been distilling vintage mash bills that are non-GI compliant, and to be honest, they are absolutely cracking as well, and I can't wait to try and review some of those in the near future. But today we will consider just the Method and Madness. So the mash bill that Middleton have went with here is kind of their stereotypical. It's 60% unmalted barley, 40% malted barley, but that can vary within the products that they bring out. The maturation for this, they are vattings, So some of it is ex-bourbon, some of it is ex-sherry. It's vatted together and then it's finished in French chestnut, and I believe the finishing period is about 6 months to a year. This is a no age statement whiskey, so we're not really sure what age the whiskies are in here. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I think I was told that the whiskies kind of range between 7 to 11 years old. But I'll have to do a bit more research on that and see if I can find out. Maybe if you know, you can leave a comment and tell me. Anyway, how does it taste? Well, let's get my big neb in here first of all. So on the nose, there is a really healthy dose of cinnamon and ground ginger straight away, as well as some sawdust and furniture polish. Then we get into like strawberry laces, there's some fennel in there, there's ripe red apples as well, some copper, a bit of leather, and vanilla fudge bars. And then just in the background, there is definitely a hint of like spearmint and also kind of like bay leaves, and also a nice toasted like hazelnut nuttiness going on. So all in all, a very, very nice nose. Let's see how the palate goes. So a nice oily texture to this, a nice weight and viscosity to it, and straight away you're getting like toffee chews. There's some baked apple and bananas going on. There's some like bitter dark chocolate as well. It kind of develops as well into some tropical fruit, so there's like dried mango in here, maybe like dried pineapple as well. Spice wise, there's a nice clove and anise note going on, there's cinnamon, a little peppery bite as well, but it's like kind of like more your baking spices. I'll go for another little sip, see if we can get something else. Yeah, you definitely get some oak tannins. Feels like there's definitely some toasted oak there. Getting some custard now as well. There's spearmint and a bit of a leathery note as well. So I'll have another sip and then we'll go into the finish. So I'd say that the finish is kind of medium in length. There's plenty of baking spices there. There's that mint again. There's cocoa powder and a pleasant kind of oakiness as well, just lingering in the background. All in all, I'm glad to say that I think that the liquid matches the rather beautiful bottle that it comes in. So what am I going to score this? Oh, I should point out rather belatedly what I paid for this. So I paid $80 for this, and I haven't done the conversion in my head. So that's probably, I don't know, about £68. So it's probably around about 75 euros, something like that. So what am I gonna score this? I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. I think that this is a very, very good whiskey from Middleton. I'm glad to see that from the first iteration that I tried in 2019, that the standard is still being maintained, that it's a high quality whiskey, and I would happily recommend this over Redbreast 12 or the standard Green Spot releases, especially here in the US. Okay, you're going to pay maybe an extra $15 to get this, but I think the experience is a lot better. I also forgot to mention that this is 46% ABV and it is non-chill filtered. Doesn't say that it's natural colour, so there could be the chance that there is a little bit of E150 in there, because I do know that Middleton do that occasionally just to make sure there's no batch variation. So compared to the Redbreast 12 or the Green Spot, because of the extra ABV, you're getting like a little bit extra presence. There's definitely more flavour. The chestnut finish definitely adds a bit more like cocoa and sort of bitter dark chocolate notes to the whiskey as well. What can I say? Good stuff. I would recommend it. If you can find it here in the US or even back home in Ireland, definitely give this a go. I have my eye out on some of those mixed mash bills that they have as well, like the oats and malt. So if I can get my hands on that, I will definitely love to try that and give it a go. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to stop rambling now. I hope you enjoyed the review. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that sort of good stuff. Support the channel, and I will see you again next time. Slàinte.